Okay, we're going to finish with our elements of design. Our next one is color, and you'll notice that there's several different items here that describe what we're talking about with color. When we talk about color, we're really talking about the hue. That's the base color we're talking about. This is your Roy G. Biv, red, yellow, green, blue, violet. And this is what a color wheel is. It shows all the colors and how they relate. Value we're going to talk about in a minute, but it's dark to light. And saturation has to do with how intense the color is versus a gray. We divide the colors into two kinds of colors, cool colors and warm colors. And I just for a minute want you to think about, for example, what colors do you always see in fast food logos? If you think about it, it's always these colors here primarily. If you think about hospitals and schools and libraries, what colors are they usually decorated in? Usually these cooler colors. These are more calming, these are more energetic. There's a whole lot of color theory that it goes into actual design, and that's kind of something interesting to think about in the future. You do want to take these notes down. And color has a really big impact on things. When we see a specific color, we think about something. For example, we even call it green design. When we see something like this, we think more like a leaf and more environmental. So what it says here is prepare a color wheel using colored pencils, and you can look up on the internet what the colors should be. And what you need to do is pick up this handout, which already has information written on it, and you're just going to color the color wheel in here. You may not find exact colored pencils that are exactly all these colors, so you might have to mix two colors to get some of these to work out. Value has to do with the light or darkness of the color. Here, this is pretty dark. It's the same hue, they're all the yellow and orange, but this one is very dark versus this one which is very light. You often see value when we're shading. When we're shading to create 3D views off of a 2D surface, for example in this car's sketching. Here's the exact directions, and you need to follow this exactly. You're going to make a value scale when you're colored with a colored pencil in some color. Do not use your regular pencil, use a colored pencil. And then you need to sketch exactly what it says here. 5 squares, each on 4x4 grids. And you need to go from light to dark or dark to light as you go through there. Be sure you go back and write the definition down too. And here's some examples. This one is kind of close to our example, other than our instructions say to do 5 squares here. These others all had different instructions as they were made, but this is the idea. And finally, texture. So smooth surfaces reflect more light versus rough surfaces that absorb more light and appear darker. For example, if we look at this looks very smooth because it's very reflective, as compared to this one, which is not reflective and gives us the impression that it's very rough. And we can also get things that look fluffy. In order to show the textures, which we're going to do simulated textures, you need to take and make a rubbing with a pencil or crayon or a colored pencil over different objects you can find. Here are some examples of those. So you want to take something that has a texture to it, place it underneath your paper, and then very lightly rub over it so you get the texture to show on your paper. You may have a few like this one that don't show up immediately, and you need to just keep trying till you get enough that you can see the different textures there. And finally, we talk about space. This is the areas between and around parts of an image. And we talk about positive and negative space. This is positive space because here we're showing what the image itself is. It's this image coming, this little sphere thing. Versus here, what part are we actually showing in the picture? Well, we're showing this outside, so this middle part is negative space. That's the space that's not showing on this exterior. We can have open and uncluttered, or cramped and busy. For example, this looks very open, versus this looks very cramped and busy. Here, this gives us the very impression of being very open here also. So what you're going to do is cut out shapes from magazines, and you'll just need to come and get some magazines of different pictures. And you're going to make a collage that indicates space by placing smaller images toward the back, overlapping with bigger images toward the front. So here's some examples here. These are not exactly what our instructions say, but it's talking about positive and negatives. And that's it for our elements. Once you have finished all the elements, you need to bring the elements up to have them graded.